Now we wait for the people. Wait, that's strange. How did I got a thumbs up and there's no one watching? 4 thumbs up. Oh, no, there's people here. Oh, just the delay. How you doing, Josh? How you doing, Brad? Carl Jones? What? Well, they're all in now. Bam. Now they're... Better internet? I wish. My internet sucks. Let me try the bandwidth a little bit. Holy crap. Right, let's go for a little walk. You get to take a tour of the house with me. Aren't you guys lucky? We'll set up a little bit closer to the Wi-Fi. And then we'll start gas bagging. We'll see how long it lasts. Okay. There we go, that's better. Got to get the lighting. It's still bad, but all the people going nuts. This is interesting. All the stuff that interesting topics for a later date. Have I ever met Josh Bixley? Yeah, plenty of times. Okay. All right, for people who haven't been in here before, these live feeds that I normally do, which I used to do a lot on Facebook, I would talk about a subject, and that would be either a subject that I thought was kind of a hot topic or something worthwhile talking about, or trying to sort of teach something or help people out with something, and then maybe we talk about question and answers related to that topic, or just regular answers and questions, or all that sort of stuff, and go from there. So bloody blah. But I'll do a little bit of thing, and this is something that I've noticed. What I wanted to talk about, something I've noticed probably in the last year or so, and I think it's a worthwhile topic. So I'll talk about this, and we can. Yeah, I won't be answering questions now. So if you've got specific questions, maybe ask them later on. But I do try to keep track of what people are saying in there and all that sort of stuff. We'll see how things go. Anyway, so I put in the description, should the title of this be, is innovation dead or dying in this hobby? And it's very interesting. I'm one of those people that kind of has the lucky or unlucky ability or whatever about being involved with a lot of companies out there that are doing a fair bit of innovation. And I get to see behind the scenes what it takes to do this, both in effort and cost, and I see the price point in some things and so forth and that sort of stuff, and it's very interesting. I'm going to go out there and just say this, and a lot of people hate this when I say this, but in my mind, this is very much the case when I compare it to all other forms of hobbies and sports that I've been involved with. The FPV community at large is a bunch of fucking cheapskates. I don't know what it is about this community. It's got me completely dumbfounded that everything has to be fucking cheap and it has to work absolutely perfect. And if something is not perfectly lined up, social media completely blows up, and I don't fucking get it. It's dumbfounding. Like any other form of like serious sport or aviation, we're not doing half the things that we're doing in this sport. Yet most of the time it costs more than double. The last RC hobby I was in was F3B sailplanes, which was about $3,000 just for a sailplane, about $1,000 worth of radio gear. At the time, the radio cost me $1,600 for the base thing. It cost somewhere in the order of $400 just in winch line every single time. Every time I went to a competition. It's one of those things. Aviation is not cheap, and for some reason, I don't know why, people want everything for nothing, and especially considering what we're doing with FPV. We've got some very, very cool. We've got some very cool technology that is allowing us to do amazingly cool things that we could never do beforehand. And we're doing them at great speed, at great distance, and smashing into shit at high speed. And more often than not, you can fly away again. There's not too many other form of aviation where you can fly into a brick wall and then fly away again. That's what I find funny about this whole thing. Yet we have it's still a hobby because you're still building things, you're still soldering, and as a whole, we're getting new people in that aren't very good at soldering stuff, and they stuff stuff up. And so when you see about faulty components, I would say 75% of the time, the faulty components are down to user error, and I know because I fucked up a lot of stuff myself. And I guess what I'm getting back to is we've got to think, there's a thing called economy of scale, and innovation plateaus on technology that we're using. Eventually new technology comes through, but until that technology comes through, then you're stuck with the innovation that you've got. And so first, let's touch on innovations of scale. You know what I'm talking about. The big problem here is if we were a worldwide thing, like massive, companies would be selling a shitload more than they are. And if you had an economy of scale working for you, if you're making a lot of a product, because of bulk, you can then make it cheaper. The reality of it is that this is a very, very small community and a very, very small hobby that is a niche market. So the economy of scale does not work in our favor. It works against us. So things are going to cost more to make a proper product. And then there is plateauing of technology. So I think everyone will agree that in terms of, say, flight controllers and ESCs and batteries and motors and props, that technology, pretty much every frame design, is all plateauing in that area. And it's no difference to drag racing. You grab a stock standard car, go down the road, and you'll do a quarter mile in 14 seconds. It doesn't take very many upgrades or fiddling to get down to 12 seconds. To get to 10 seconds, you've got to start spending some money and doing some bolt-on add-ons and lots of stuff. To get to 8 seconds, now you have to really rebuild everything. It costs a shitload more. So for a smaller and smaller increase in improvement in quarter mile time, it starts getting exponentially more expensive. And this is what's starting to happen in our hobby, where all the electronics, frame design, everything like that is starting to get more expensive. And the fact that we have the economies of scale working against us, we seem to have everything against us, so that it's going to cost more rather than less. And for some reason, now we've always had, we have this tight-ass community that refuses to pay any more for something. Like, let's say you get an ESC that's $5. And another ESC comes out at $10. The first thing that I always hear, which I laugh at, is that ESC twice as good? It doesn't fucking work that way. It never has, and it never will. And I just don't get that. As things improve, and they will improve, but they improve less and less each time as things plateau, they will get more expensive, and they will get exponentially more expensive sometimes. The perfect example to me is in frame design. We are using flat plate carbon, and that's like the worst way to use carbon fiber in frame design. It's fucking terrible. But the reason why we use it is because it's reasonably cheap, it's reasonably good for what we do, and any dipshit with a CAD machine and access to a CNC machine can all of a sudden become a professional frame designer. That's why we do it. And then, of course, FURC came out with, one of the companies that came out with a proper molded design, and I really like what FURC did. Maybe there was some issues with their designs on sort of stuff, but if you really want to use things correctly and improve frame design, then the molded area is the way to go. The problem is that it costs a shitload of money to design, build, and manufacture a molded frame. So the price is high. As a result, our tight-ass community has said, it's not fucking good enough. It's too expensive. Now, I'll be the first one to say I'm an idiot if you don't listen to your customer base, what they're saying. And the projects that I'm working on, I certainly am listening to the customer base, because they're the ones that are going. It doesn't matter how much they whinge and bitch on social media. They're going to vote with their feet. They're going to buy it or they're not going to buy it. And if you don't listen, then that's your own grave that you're digging. And the question is, do you go in a different direction because you think that you found something that they like that they don't know they like? I don't know, but. Here is the problem. To improve things, it's going to cost more money. And just because it costs double doesn't mean you're going to get, just because you double the cost doesn't mean you're going to get double the performance. It just does not happen that way. It's the sad fact about it. So I ask myself, does that now mean that innovation is essentially dying or dead in this community? Because if people are stuck on what they're willing to pay, and we know that the economies of scale are against us, and we know that we're already, say, at the 8-second mark down the quarter mile, and we want to go faster, so it's going to cost exponentially more. What do you do? Like, as a business, do you just say, well, no worries, we won't take a risk because what's the point? Because we're already struggling, because the community is already like buying clones and not supporting the innovators. Or do we take a risk and go out and do something different and blow a whole heap of money on there? And if it fails, then you're in trouble. That it's interesting. I don't know what the answer is. It's kind of interesting which way it goes, and time will tell. But I just found that very interesting when I'm watching that, because and I'm watching over the last year, and I just thought it was very interesting that I'm seeing this, that we're stuck in this cycle. and we're not going to improve and go forward until we get out of this cycle. And something has to give. I'm not sure what it's going to be. Yeah, interesting one. But anyway, I thought I'd put that out there, give you guys something to think about it. But there's some guys on Facebook that asked some questions, and I will go through those questions, and then I will look on there and look for some questions for you, answer stuff. Right, let's have a look, see what we got. Boo, boo, boo. And look, I know my internet sucks, guys. That's just the way that it is. I wish I could have better internet. Are hype trains really made of unicorn guts? Of course they are. That's the windings of the hype trains are actually the small intestine of a unicorn. That's why it's so hard to get batches out there. Brendan Sue said, I'll probably miss it, but I want to see the new Kiss GUI. Why is it better than ever? It's just a GUI. There's well, Jonathan's there. Wait. Sorry, I'm just chatting to Jonathan. Good old schizo. It's a GUI, and yeah, not really much to see. Owen Crooks, question for you, Chad. Can you explain the new KISS FC in detail? Any potential for OSD? I don't have the KISS FC in front of me, so essentially the KISS FC is so the PCB's been sort of changed around. So you've got the motor outputs in all four corners, like usual, blah, 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 nothing special. It also has a cascading regulator on it now, so less heat problems than the older one, and should still be still a clean input voltage for that. Also has the F7 processor on it, and the F7 processor is down to a lot of the cost of that board, and the reason for the F7 really was for just grunt processing power, nothing to do with speed. I'm still running 1 kilohertz PID loop time. It comes down to filtering. So the latest firmware that I'm testing, that Alex has made for me to test, is using already half of the processing power of the F7 processor. So it gives you an idea of the kind of grunt that's involved in that. So when we talk about processors, we don't necessarily talk about speed. We're just talking about in sheer grunt power. The reason why the F4 wasn't chosen is purely because it's a shit processor. It was a really badly designed processor. It doesn't self-invert UARTs and all that sort of stuff, and it's got some failures. The good thing that is good about it is that it's still a reasonably cheap processor, and I think that's a reason why a lot of flight controllers haven't gone to the F7, because it's a step up in price. It uses the MPU 6000 gyro rather than the 650, just for a little bit of future proofing. Other than that, 6050 and the 6000, they essentially work the same apart from small changes. Yeah, just a lot more UARTs available to do more things. So it's got some more connectors on the side, which will allow you, like the Impulse RC PDB with the OSD on it, so stuff. You can connect that, and you still have like another connector on the side, so that you can connect a black box if you want, or do whatever you want. So it just gives you a lot more options in that regard, yeah, generally speaking, more UARTs, and you know what to do with. It's really just a future-proofing thing, because I think over time everyone will be going to the F7, and Kiss and Flyduino and Felix tend to be the guys that tend to sort of get the ball rolling in some areas like that. As far as a question on the OSD, side of things, give me about 1 or 2 weeks and I can probably start talking about that some more. So there is an option on there that's coming out for the OSD. The Flow Controller just came out sooner than the OSD did, so not much I can do there. I don't control when things come out and prices of them. I'm just a guy that tests stuff and gives free feedback when I do things. So what was I going to say? Yeah, the OSD side is kind of interesting, and there's some other work going on that, like, I deal with a lot of companies and I see a lot of cool shit that I can't talk about. And if I could talk about certain things that would make people understand the decisions that some people would make, but I can't talk about it, so I've just got to keep quiet. But there's some really smart ideas coming out there, which, so long as they work in testing and not just in theory and lots of stuff, that we'll probably get a bit more involved in the future. But for now, I can't really talk about it. Yeah. So let's go to my Facebook page, because I know that there was some questions on there. Oh wow, you guys were busy. And yes, I know, the internet's shitty. There's nothing I can do about it. Welcome to Australia. Is drones my total income? I'm sitting in a meeting wishing I was flying, talking about flying for a job. That's from my point of view. I will answer that. Drones are essentially my entire income. Stick in your meeting, because you'll be getting a lot more money sitting in your meeting. But I'm a bit more passionate about what I do, maybe. I don't know, you might be too. So yes, it is my only income when it comes to, it's down to, like, it's a multitude of small jobs, whether it means getting paid to go to a country to help someone out with a racing organisation with a race. It comes down to product development, getting contracted out to do product development, making some of my own products, of which I get a profit from. And I'm also looking at doing some, around the world, done some commercial work, and I'm sort of getting involved in the commercial side of operations here in Australia as well. So it's varied, and it's sort of like small little payments and loose change here and there. It's not a steady stream doing this kind of thing, so you've got to go out and search for it and all sorts of stuff. Okay. Questions on Facebook. I'll go with these guys first, and then I'll go with you guys, because these guys were first. What got me into flying? Seeing planes. I've been told by my parents when I was a 4-year-old kid, I used to just watch aircraft fly over the top of the house from one end of the horizon to the other. So I think they kind of always knew I was going to be involved in aviation. And when I was about 14, I got kites, and I got rockets, and I got balloons, and anything that fly, all that kind of stuff. But I got into control line aircraft when I was about 14, and then shortly after that got into remote control. I got a glider, an Albatross was my first glider, and got into RC from there, which kind of flourished and got me in, and I was in and out of it, and then got me into full size, and then got me back into RC again, and then got me into drones. So just anything aviation, I love it. It was inevitable for me. Leslie says, how are you? I said, I'm fantastic. Andrew Browse said, how experienced are you with drop bears? Any Australian is extremely experienced with drop bears, and it's just something that you grow up with. Do I see improvement in performance between the KISS 24 and the new KISS 32 amp? Yes, ESCs. Yes, I see a small amount. It's not huge, but if you're having like tiny little issues, I found swap those ESTs out tended to fix them up. They tend to be a bit smoother up high as well. It's the whole analogy of plateauing stuff. So the improvement is small. We're never going to have an improvement like One Shot or anything like that, or the original KISS ESCs, unless something terribly new comes out and we do things completely differently. Luke O'Keefe said, do you think the community in this hobby sport is different to the community in any other hobby sport? Why not? I think we have some similarities and some differences. There's a lot of bitching going on, but I think that is mostly social media based, and you can get that in a lot of areas. But I think a lot of the bitching is happening because this sport is not, well, sport, sorry, I refuse to call it a sport, a hobby. I think there's a lot of unhappy people and bitching going on because this hobby is not blowing up and becoming the industrial revolution that some people thought it would be. And they're getting that reality check, and they're basically responding with going crazy. The number of people out there that I've spoken to that thought that they can put out a couple of videos and they'll become a well-known pilot, and then they get a full-time job that's extremely well paid that can pay for the rest of your family to live, was never going to happen. Yes, there are people that can make a living out of this, but not a great deal. And the amount of money you're making is meager because it's something you're passionate about. If you want to make lots of money, go and do something else. This is not a rich man's business, and I don't see it ever being, at least not in the distant future. What are my top 5 tips for improving your skills in FPV? Improving your skills in FPV. Go out and practice the shit that you're not good at. If there's a trick that you can't do, just go out there and practice that trick. Practice makes perfect. Stick time makes things a bit more perfect. To improve your skills, on top of that, I would say be yourself. Find your own style. Be true to yourself. And number 1, have fun. If you're having fun, then you will find that a full day's flying goes through so smoothly, whether you learnt something or not. And at the end of the day, we're doing this for fun. If you're not having a good time, what the fuck are you doing? I've already mentioned that this is not a hobby that you're going to become stupidly rich by getting involved in. So if you're not doing it for fun, first and foremost, what the fuck are you doing? Serious question, Chet. Any idea why Flyduino didn't put an OSD on the new KISS V2? Well, that's down to Flyduino. The decision comes down to them. Like I said, there's some interesting ideas starting to bubble away, which might make some more sense if it gets to the light of day. But I can't really talk about that at the moment. Thoughts on the Alien 4.5 versus using a 5-inch Alien? Are there any advantages? Well, the Alien 4.5 is lighter by a tiny little fraction amount, so that makes a big difference, right? I've tried the Alien 4.5, and there are a number of things I like, a number of things I don't like. For starters, the Alien 5, the body is too long for what we use. So you go to a 4.5 because the body's shorter. Okay, the body's shorter, but the camera mount sucks. The cameraman is a piece of shit, and that's the main reason why I didn't go to it. But also the body is shorter, so now the motors stick out further in front of you and you can't get the camera angle down as far. That depends on how far down you want to go and whether or not that's an issue, but that's another issue right there. As far as performance, the 4.5 I really don't think brings any real performance. It makes numbers look better. But the downside is it has a shittier camera mount. I think I was one of the first people to do an Alien 4.5, like way early in the time before the 4-inch Alien was even released. I was doing this, and I didn't do it because of the camera mount. I went back to the 5-inch Alien. So make your choice. If it works for you, great. Tips on improving freestyle videos from NorCal Rob. Be you. And make a video that you would want to watch. If you want to watch it and you're passionate about what you've done, then if no one else watches it, you've still got something you're proud of. And it's like a photo album. You may not necessarily show anyone your photo album, but you've still got that photo album sitting up there in the cupboard. And that's why I do it. I guess you've got to ask the question, are you doing it for yourself or are you doing it for other people? If you're doing it for yourself, do what makes you passionate and what you enjoy. And fuck everyone else. If they agree with you, they'll watch it, but if they don't like it, who cares? If you're doing it for other people, then I don't know. If you're doing it for other people, then ask someone else, because I've got no idea. I do videos for me, not other people, and I don't know. Ask one of the pilots to do shit just for the sake of doing it. Tristan Peter said, "What do you think about the brushless micro community? It's pretty different than normal 5-inch group because they're so small drones and it's pretty new. I know Newbie Drone had a micro brushless a while ago, but more recently have been able to make micro quads a lot cheaper and almost as fast as some 5-inch. Micro stuff, yeah, I think it's getting much better. The tiny whoop stuff, I kind of got the shits with it because the performance there was just annoying and lacking. Some of those sort of like 2-inch, the bigger style ones are actually not too bad. I get a little bit bored of them myself, and I'd like to put a camera on there so that I can record stuff if I want. Yeah, it's not quite for me, but the community seems like pretty cool and accommodating, and they're not as serious as the 5-inch community that's all about like, yeah, I'm the best pilot in the world. You don't believe me? Come here. I'm going to kick the shit out of you, kind of thing. Yeah. If every quad is different, Diff, how does DRL make them equal? If every quad is different, how does DRL make them equal? Well, they build them the same way and they tune them the same way and lots of stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be exactly the same, but you can't make everything completely identical. It's physically impossible. I think they're removing the as many variables as they can to achieve what they're trying to achieve. Good compatible AOFC, switching from DYS F4 Pro. You guys will be able to answer that better than me. There's so many flight controllers out there, and I try to test a lot of them, but I don't test enough of them. It's so hard to keep up with it. Nick Lang said, "Do you think wing racing has the potential to become more popular than drone racing, specifically as a live event?" And by the way, guys, let me know how. I know lag's coming in here, but is it still watchable? I hope that it is. It's the best I can do, unfortunately. So, wing racing. I personally think that wing racing is far more entertaining to watch than quad racing. I find, generally speaking, quad racing boring to watch a lot of the time, hard to follow, too short. You don't know what the fuck's going on. Wings are far more interesting to watch, but I'd prefer to race a quad than a wing. And I think that quad racing got more attention than it deserved in the media. Is sort of getting the reality check now that it has always deserved. And I don't think wing racing is going to get that much attention. So although it's as interesting, if not more interesting to watch, I don't know whether or not it's ever going to really go mainstream, but I'm not so sure that quad racing is either. Yeah. So I think it's down to you guys. So you guys need to ask questions now. Final Glide Oz, did High Flight FPV stop flying? No, I know Ethan is still flying, but Ethan is a lot like me. Ethan makes videos when he wants to make videos, not just because it's a Monday. So, he's still out there, he's still flying. You just got to... you just got to pressure him. Say, we want videos from High Flight. We want videos. Nothing RC has ever been mainstream, never will. Just enjoy it. Exactly. What is the most durable motor in your experience? Very hard to answer that question purely because every crash is different, and I've broken pretty much every motor out there. While you're here, YouTube, for tips and inspiration, and your ilk give. Thanks, man. I'm guessing you're saying thanks. I'm happy to help. Do I run reverse props? No, I don't. Just out of pure habit, I've just run the normal ones. I've tried reverse and I've tried the same way. To me, there is no fucking difference in the way that they fly. The only reason why I would use reverse direction props and motors is because, for the front motors at least, the motors push the quad away from something that you're running into, like a gate or a tree branch. So you're less likely to get stuck in that than a normal rotation. That would be the only reason why I would use it. Is Rotor-Riot making a new hype train motor? Tommy has got a custom hype train motor coming out, lower KV for 6-inch props or 5S. Are you doing anything with Rotor-Riot anytime soon? Well, I'm kind of in talks with Kappa about when to next go over to America, and then I'm sure we will go nuts with more filming there. Any developments with head tracking on flight cameras? Would be like to incorporate one, but gimbals aren't around. There is head tracking available. I think you would find on mini quads that would be extremely hard to fly. Air mode versus idle up. Well, it really depends on which flight controller you're talking about. So, of course, if you're talking Betaflight, then yeah, Betaflight has air mode, and I still use air mode on Betaflight because idle up doesn't give any. I was the guy that kind of brought idle up into the community, made it well known. I got rid of that. The latest versions of Betaflight, air mode works extremely well. It's not fucked like it used to be, so I use air mode there. And in KISS, if you and it's the same kind of thing for race flight. If you just set it up correctly, you have what is called air mode, but it's not air mode. It's just the flight controller doing what it's supposed to do. Like, air mode is just a patch for something that's not working right in Betaflight. And the funny thing is, if you use idle up in KISS, you're still actually technically using air mode. It's the same fucking thing. So yeah, air mode for me, or just not using idle up. Can you discuss why larger propellers and frames cause such havoc with video? Interesting question. Who is that? That was Dennis Lee. I'm sure there's other points in this, and that some people may disagree on that sort of thing, but I will give my take on it. So, as you the oscillations that are caused by either imbalanced areas or coggy motors, or motors speeding up and slowing down. And as they speed up and slow down, the motor either the propeller gets more thrust or less thrust. And what happens is, when it gets more thrust, it bends up, and when it gets less thrust, it bends down again. And if it's speeding up and slowing down a lot, the propeller does this, and it starts oscillating, which causes vibrations on top of the existing vibrations you've got, which get into the gyro. The gyro freaks out because it's seeing these vibrations, tells the PID controller sees this, and then tries to fix it, and then by sending corrections to the motor, and then it's this closed loop thing that just progressively gets worse. Now, the problem is that what happens with the 5-inch quads and the 4-inch quads and the 3-inch quads, the smaller the propeller, then the faster it's spinning, and the higher the frequency of the vibrations. The larger the propeller, the lower the RPM, and the lower the frequency of the vibrations. This then becomes an issue because I need to check. Are you guys actually hearing this? Because I'm getting like a very bad connection thing. I don't know whether or not it's lagging out. Did you guys just hear what I said then, or did that all just lag out then? You can, okay, someone can hear me. This is good. Yeah, so essentially, the bigger the propeller, the slower the RPM of its spinning, and the lower the frequency of the vibrations. This becomes an issue because when the frequency gets low enough, first of all, if you get a frequency vibration, it might get into the harmonics of certain things. And longer arms will have a lower harmonic frequency, so a lower RPM, you get this harmonic frequency. You might get into sync with, for example, the rolling shutter on the GoPro, which then causes havoc with Jello. But also, you've got certain frequencies where certain things happen within the flight controller. For example, say below 100 hertz, that's where it becomes a lot harder to filter in the flight controller, because if you start filtering too much in there, what you're doing is you're filtering the actual stick movements, the actual movements of the quad. Above that is all vibrations, and get rid of that. So, of course, as you get to a bigger craft, you start getting the frequency down into a frequency level that is really becoming an issue and a lot harder to fix. This is why when you see these bigger camera rigs with the bigger props, they're soft mounting their GoPros on little gummies and stuff, and you'll see it on the DJI Phantoms and Mavics. They do that for that reason, that it's the only way to get rid of that problem. That's one of the big reasons why the bigger propeller stuff is more of an issue to us, because the stuff that we've got is designed for 5-inch and the associated frequencies and harmonics of that. And then you go and get that flight controller, a Betaflight flight controller or whatever, and you go and stick it into an X-Class quad, and you start having some real dramas. That's why. Robert Krakow said 8-inch to 10-inch is still fine though. Well, it depends on the setup. A good flying quad is the sum of multiple parts all working well together. So you might just have the right setup and combination to make that work. And likewise, the harmonics of your quad and frame and propellers and motors might just be okay. Why does my quad drop out when I roll and the ESC resets so I fall out of the sky? That's a very hard one to answer. Without knowing what's going on and seeing the quad, it's very hard to answer. Yeah, flight test needed to put a vector system on the giant mini quad, super low vibrations. Yeah, because they had a flight. They could have fiddled with it and made it work. I don't know, but it gives you an idea that everything that we've got is tailored to a certain use. What do you think about using conformal coating, and is it okay to put over your gyro? Yeah, I use conformal coating. I use Drone Dry, and they've got a new batch out now, which is water based, and it's quick drying and everything like that. I find it really good. So I put that over my electronics on stuff that's not. Chad, get back on LDO. Is that Let's Drone Out? I'm happy to go on any of these podcasts, guys. You just got to get me on there. Yeah, I use the Drone Dry on stuff that's not sort of prototype stuff that I'm testing. I know I'm going to be fiddling a lot with, and it works really well. So I don't try to make my quad completely waterproof. I think that's kind of stupid, but just splash proof and rain proof is good enough for me. What about on ESC? It's perfectly fine. Oh, and yes, you can put it on gyro. You can put it on the gyro, not a problem. The only thing that I would be careful about putting on it is covering up a barometer, because a barometer has a little hole in the top and it measures pressure, so you want to be careful about that. And the other thing is connectors. So if I was going to do that, I would put a connector in, the connector or a USB plug in the USB port, so that I don't cover up the connections. Can you put plastic dip on a gyro? I would say yes. I've never done it, but I would say yes without too many hassles. Do you run without C on my motor shaft? I don't run motors with C-clips. I'm not a fan of them. How many ESCs and FCCs have I caught on fire building a quad? Okay, So KISS 18 amp ESCs, I've probably done maybe about 8 or 10 of them in total. Not blown up any KISS 30 amp ESCs. I have blown up one KISS 24 amp ESC, but that was because I fucked up with the soldering and got some solder blobs between two caps, and I thought I'll test it and blew up. I've had 3 KISS 24 amps fail but not blow up. And I've had 2 KISS flight controllers stop working on me. I've never had a flight controller blow up on me, but I've just had 2 of them just not stop working on me. I've had 2 Naze Rev 5 stop on working on me, and an SP Racing got really hot. That's kind of about it. I may be thinking about 1 or 2 that I haven't. I've had probably about 15 of the old Blue Series 12 amp ESCs, and I've had a sprinkling of BL Heli ESCs die on me as well. Most of my well, not most, I've had a couple of ESCs damaged from prop strikes. I don't blow up very much stuff, but I kind of know what I'm doing, maybe. Soft mount arms on my channel work okay. Blue Series, yep. Lift off or DRL? Oh, that's a really simple answer. Lift off. DRL is shit. People use it because it's free, and DRL wants to get people in there. I know all the DRL fanboys will hate me for saying it, but I've tried it. It's shit. I'm a lift-off fan. What prototype motor is Johnny working on? He's working on a Lumineer motor. What motors am I currently running? It depends on the frame. I'm running a whole heap of different frames. My freestyle rigs run the hype trains. I'm really happy with them, but I should be. I'm biased because I helped design them. Do you prefer BL Heli or KISS ESC? I prefer KISS ESC. I can't stand the complications that BL Heli requires with its GUI and stuff. It's slowly getting more automated. But I'm just not a fan of, like, people like to fiddle. I can't stand fiddling for the sake of fiddling. So yeah, I'm a KISS ESC person myself. The giant DRL map is good, and I've mentioned that to the Liftoff guys about making a big map so you can go and explore. So maybe that might come out there, but I do like that feature of the DRL map. Velocidrone's a pretty good sim as well. The Liftoff and Velocidrone are probably like the 2 top ones. I've tried a recent version of Velocidrone and for me Liftoff sort of is a little bit better, but it's a personal choice. Wait, is the DRL sim not free now? Wow, it's because it's a pretty average sim in my mind. And I figured the only reason why they made it was to get people to fly it, to race it, so that they could find new pilots. It was a way of free advertising for them, and that's why it was free. But now it's not free. That sucks. Hey, Chad, do you still fly your Vortex 285? No, I don't have a Vortex 285 anymore. I mean, I flew it. I didn't like the movable arms on it sort of stuff, and it didn't handle very well, so I moved on to better things fairly early on. Tri-Blade 6-inch ESCs 24 or 30 amp. It depends on the setup. I can't answer that. There's a lot of equations there. It comes down to the amp draw. Is there a sim that does fixed-wing FPV? A lot of the regular line-of-sight simulators for fixed-wing also do an on-board one, so their version of FPV. Mrs. Max or 4 and 20? I think I'd probably go with the Mrs. Max, but they're both kind of shit. Any idea what could cause a motor to work with one pin but not another? Hard to answer that. Sorry, I don't. It's hard for me to answer the technical stuff, and I don't really have time on these kinds of feeds. Sorry. I've heard good things about the Cobra Champion motors. I hold a soft spot for Cobra. Do you have any opinions? The Cobra Champion motors they're a really good motor. They're smooth, they're strong, they're powerful, they're durable. They're just stupidly like the older versions. At least I haven't tried the new versions. I got to try them. Just too heavy. Are you releasing my new frame in ready to fly form as well? I'd love to see it build up on shop to purchase. I'm working on that. My last flight was good. Thanks, man. I guess you're talking to me. Any funny stories about getting kicked out of places for flying? It's a hard one to answer. I don't know. I've been kicked out of plenty of places, but Inside house whooped into mum's hair. There. Have I flown on the Hanover map in Liftoff? Which one is that? I can't remember which one that is. Have I used Mr. Steele's PDB? Yeah. I'm not a huge OSD guy, but yeah. It's not Mr. Steele's PDB. It's Impulse's. Steele just put his name on it. And I'll call it the Mr. Steele PDB when he actually did some work on it. How many drones have I lost and how many into the ocean? I have only lost one drone, and it's up in a mountainside outside of Las Vegas. I lost it about 2 kilometers away and just decided it wasn't even worthwhile looking for. Will I switch all my quads to over to using Ghost? Eric Kunasti asked that. If it needs to be Ghost, then for long range stuff, then I'll do that. But my Tyrannus is perfectly fine for the majority of stuff, so I don't see the need. It's good to have two systems and using the two systems where they work best. And there is no ultimate system, whether you're looking at a 2.4 with the various brands. There is the 900, 433, all these ones that they've all got their positive and negatives. So you've got to weigh that up for the job that you're doing as to whether or not they work best for you. Did you have anything to do with making of the cheap-ass motors? No, I didn't, sorry. Would you ever run an ultralight quad chat such as a quad such as the Floss 4? Would I ever run an ultralight quad such as the Floss 410 builds? Racing a lighter weight maybe, but for freestyle I don't see the point. Do you think it's mean to herd geese away with a mini quad even though you're 20 feet away from them? That's personal opinion, not physically hurting them, and as long as you're not totally freaking them out to a point where they're going to die later on, people get a big deal about this sort of stuff. Is it mean for me to walk outside and chase away kangaroos from my back door? It's the same sort of thing for me. But people get all up and tied up in a knot because you're using a mini quad to do it. When people chase shit away on foot all the time, I don't get it. Motor and props combo for a 4-inch setup. There are so many props out there. The new V1S 4-inch V1S is I quite like them, and they seem to be getting a big report. But there's lots of combinations out there. Maybe around a 3500 kV or something like that. 3,000 to 3,500 depends on how much power you want to kill. If you're going 3,500, you probably want to go to a 2-blade though. Help the Liftoff crew fix their freestyle, please. The freestyle thing is only a new thing and it's a work in progress, so they're working on it. Best battery suppliers in Oz. I don't know. It's so hard to find batteries in in Australia that you just take what you can get. A little chat about 5S, please. I moved down from the 2750 because I love to float forever, and considering the thrust of 5S to expand on that style. If you're 5S and 6S is a really good idea, so long as you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I see for the right reasons. I see so many people doing it for the wrong reasons. People seem to think put another cell on there or another 2 cells on there because you go faster. Okay, yes, you will go faster, but your amp draw will go up. And your battery can't really take that much. It's already on the limit now, and you're pushing everything a lot harder. Things will blow up more. Your flight times will reduce dramatically. So in that regard, in my opinion, going to a higher cell count is kind of stupid. It's fun, but you get bored of it pretty quick, and it starts getting pretty expensive pretty quick, and you stop doing it. 5S and 6S work well when you increase voltage to increase efficiency. So what you do is you increase the voltage, but you change the motor, mostly kV, to suit the new one. And you don't increase it, you decrease it. And you also need to change the propeller to suit that. So what you're trying to do is to achieve the same amount of thrust and speed as you had before, but do it more efficiently. So you can either use a smaller battery, which will mean that you will get more efficiency for sort of less weight. Yes, I know adding cells adds weight, but I'm trying to be basic here. Or you can have the same size battery and fly for longer, and you increase things like torque and all that sort of stuff. So yes, going there is good if we do it right, but most people just go, oh, I want more power, and they're like, oh, something blew up, I can't work out why. That's why you do it. So it has its place if you do it correctly. Said I was getting a solid 2 minutes 45, not 2 hours, 2 minutes 45 with the Emax 2750s HQ 5x4.8 V1S. So efficiency, well, that's a really good time that you're getting for a 4S with that kind of KV motor and that prop. I wouldn't, because it also comes down to your flying style. How often are you holding throttle? Are you keeping low throttle? Are you flying efficiently? So it's hard to say that. You can only compare performance against yourself. You can't compare it against other pilots. Have I ever hit an animal of any kind while flying? I had a kangaroo that was sitting down in the shade that swiped at me and made me crash. I was hovering like right in front of it, and it swiped at me like that, knocked me out of the sky, and I ended up in its lap with it sniffing me. That was kind of different. Have I ever hit a bird? No, I haven't hit a bird. I've hit birds with fixed-wing aircraft and full-scale aircraft. What size motor do you think is the limit when it comes to a mini quad? I have some 2407s here. Where does it... Well, it comes down to it's pilot preference. It comes down to what's important to you. If you don't give a shit about your components or other things, then just go bigger and get more power. There's a point in time where, like I said, response tends to sort of plateau. You're not going to get much better response time for a lot more power and extra weight. You going to dinner Wednesday night with the boys this week? Not sure. I may be busy doing something else. No worries, Kid FPV. Dude, I hate to say it, but Schizo's live feed isn't this cool. They're just that. I haven't watched too much of Schizo stuff, but I'm sure John's a genuine guy. He's just having fun. So I mean, each types of people's live feeds are their own personal preference. So just because you don't like it doesn't mean it's necessarily not as cool. But yeah, everyone's got their preference. Do I still fly wings? Eric asked. I haven't flown a wing in quite a long time. I've got to build it up. I've been flying my little DLG glider for a while. I really enjoy flying that. And the big thing is when I travel so much, it's very hard to take wings or any kind of fixed wing stuff with me. So I just don't get the opportunity to do that. So I've kind of just put it off to one side. Yesterday I learned Chad is a Nine Inch Nails fan. I love all kinds of really cool stuff. So Nine Inch Nails, Disturbed, Metallica, Tool. I was a massive Metallica fan back in my teens and around my school years. I actually had hair past my shoulders. I was a hardcore headbanger with the Metallica shirt and the flannelette shirt and the black jeans and all that sort of shit. What's your opinion on goggles technology? Do you think we are going to have a big improvement soon? What do you think is the #1 improvement we need? I don't necessarily think we need an improvement. People want more higher resolution, but we're using standard definition analogs. So what good is it going to bring? I think the HDV3 goggles are actually really good. It's a matter of, like I said, economies of scale, or maybe finding techniques or technologies that make that cheaper. Maybe having, instead of just IPD adjustment, you can have adjustment going forwards and backwards in these goggles. So that way you don't need to use diopters or anything like that. So it's diopter adjustment, that's a possibility. And improving DVR, I'd like a better quality DVR in the Fat Sharks. That'd be really nice. But the latest batch of goggles are pretty damn close. Although I don't like the advertising constant that he's got going on. I didn't know he does advertising, so yeah. It's chump change here, so I'm not going to advertise on this. How far does 800 milliwatt 5.8 really go in real life? Hard one to answer. It very much depends. I think I've seen people do like 10, 12 Ks on 5.8 with wings, but there's so many variables in there. It's hard to answer and give you a definite number. You know if other brands are going to be doing run cam split type cameras, and do you like them for freestyle? I'm sure if they try Foxeer will probably... Foxeer is good at copying a lot of stuff, so Foxeer might do that, but not very many people... It's a concept that's not really taking off. I was never sold on the whole split idea, and yeah, time will tell. A Crossfire faster, noticeably faster, or no? Small difference. I tried it and I was like, yeah, this is like, it's faster. And if it's a big thing for you, then it's a big thing for you. It'd be really nice if all of these companies took on ideas. Like, for example, we were PPM, then everyone went to S-Bus. And like, so the Crossfire protocol has got some benefits. So it'd be really nice to see places like, for example, FrSky take on that protocol so that you're not locked into one system to do that. I know there are other companies that are working on similar ideas, but doing things differently as well. And so there'll be more things that'll come out. But yeah, it's a change. And people say that the Crossfire thing is kind of like going from PPM to S-Bus, and that's total bullshit. There's this teeny little difference, and we're talking. What are we? If we're talking numbers, it's like fucking 5 milliseconds or something. Yeah, where the difference between PPM and S-Bus, in talking in real terms, was 96 milliseconds. That was fucking huge. That was a game changer. You can go for miles. I'm actually catching up with the questions here, guys. This is good. Yeah, I really didn't notice much of a difference between S-Bus and Crossfire myself, and really testing it. I'm sitting there going, yeah, I think there's a difference there. I think there's a difference there. And so when you're starting to go, I think there's a difference there, and you're not sitting there going, that's blowing my world out. It shows that it's a small thing. But yeah, I did Did notice a difference. Yeah. 96 milliseconds PPM to S-Bus was fucking massive because you had to also take into account the smoothing algorithm that was going on in the flight controller, which was adding the extra latency. And that was the difference. It wasn't actually the difference between S-Bus and PPM because that was only like fucking, what was it, another 10 milliseconds or something? Yeah, I haven't done a lot of tests with the split, but I've heard the split is noticeably laggy. Should I use less pitchy props and high altitude to compensate for thinner air? 8,000 vert. I would suggest you test. I would say more pitchy props, like keep the same pitch props. I wouldn't go less pitch. You would have to test. I know I could say stuff and probably be completely wrong. Yes, I remembered my Adderall. Welcome to Australia. Sorry, my internet sucks. I'm running 1.03 on my ESC and RC28 my flight controller. Is there any reason to upgrade and benefits? I would run RC30 on your flight controller, and I think it's 1.11 on your ESC. Lots of bonus improvements, not even worth mentioning. The active filtering for starters, just go and do it. At the end of the day, if you don't like it, you can always go back. So you're not locked into it. But I would definitely at least try it. I wouldn't hesitate, go to it. I think you can tell whether you're being paid to test it latency. I think you can tell or whether you're being paid to test it latency-wise. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that either are being paid, or if they don't give a positive review on something, it's going to look badly on them, on their sponsors. Kind of, I hate that, but that's up to you to decide. I mainly fly Crossfire for long range. Yep. Well, yeah, Mr. Chile Vila. I hope you got some more subs, dude. I gave you a bit of a shout out on my last feed, and people were asking long range questions, and I just put them towards you. You've got some really good videos on hints and tips for long range, and so that's the way to go. Clearview goggle module thoughts. If it works well, great, and worth the money, I would say. But it's got to work well. It's got to work well. You've got to be able to put different types of antennas, so a CP and a patch. Otherwise, I just would never use it. But if it works out well, great. It's a good sign. It's interesting because like I said, I can't talk about a lot of things that go on behind the scenes where people are working on, but I've seen something similar as well. That's not the only goggle module I've seen that's like that, that's in development. People tell me Crossfire is faster, but surely if your cam is the bottleneck, how can you notice? Well, it's a closed loop, so it's going to make the whole loop faster. Just my Clearview goggle module thoughts. Okay, just answered that. I've never had a failsafe on an ATA9 radio link. I've had in 2 years now, I've had one failsafe with FR Sky, but I do tend to push the limits, and in some cases a long range setup would be handy for when I'm really doing like cliff diving on sort of stuff. It just takes the anxiety away. I've already proved to myself how far I can go. Now I just want to go and do it, enjoy it, and really push it. CC3D with OpenPilot. Wow, that's getting to the older days. You're not a fan of TBS. What is favorite FPV antenna and FPV transmitter? There is no such thing because they're all got their positives and negatives, and it depends on what you're trying to do. And this is why I laugh at a lot of these comparison tests of antennas, because it all depends on what you're trying to achieve. So on the quad, you've got three choices in my opinion. Well, four choices. You've got a Pagoda, you've got an Axi, you've got a Triumph, and you've got a Spironet. And I use a Spironet on the quad. And the reason why there's a couple of reasons. First reason, I will put it out there because I get them for free. The newer versions are ultrasonically welded, so the caps don't break off and they don't break like they used to. So I don't break them anymore, and they just work. And I've tested all the other ones, and then none of the other ones are bringing anything that I need. So I continue to use the Spironet because it's free. Because I can get them for free from Immersion RC, and I don't go through very many of them, and there's nothing out there that I go, oh, I need that now. So I've tried the Triumph, and yeah, it's quite durable, but you can still break it. So if I'm it's not showing any main benefits for me when I fly. So if I'm getting something for free, why do I use it? The Axi is nice and tiny, but I don't like the Axi because I find that the Axi has really bad SWR on every example that I've tested in the low band of 5.8. So race band 1, its range is noticeably worse, and the way that it penetrates through stuff is noticeably worse on the lower band rather than higher band 5.8. And the Pagoda is a good antenna, but it's a lot less durable. And you can make if cheap is your thing, then you can make your own ones, but they're fiddly, cheap, and then you got to make a case for them, lots of stuff. So I just don't bother with the Pagoda. The other reason why I still use the Spironet is because it has a much better SWR readout than all of the other antennas. Well, I haven't tested the Pagoda, so I don't know about that one. So it means there's less losses in the antenna, so you can go further. So when I do long range stuff, it's the better antenna out of the three. The Triumph has a better axial ratio, so rejecting multipathing. So if that's important to you, then that's the way to go. I've tested it, and to be perfectly honest, I don't see a huge difference in that, and I would argue this whole multipathing thing is really only an issue if you're flying indoors around metal stuff. And yeah, sure, it rejects the first time it bounces. The second time it bounces back in the same polarization, and then you've got the same problem again, which it doesn't fix. So a metal environment is just shit no matter what you use. So Spironet has a good SWR, and it's very flat across the entire range. The Triumph is a little bit more durable, has a bit of axial ratio on it, if that's important to you. But the SWR is not as good, and the SWR gets worse at each end of the band. The Axi is small and light and durable, but its SWR is shit down low. And the Pagoda is, a lot of times you've got to make it yourself, and is a little bit more fiddly and not as durable. So yeah, it comes down to picking what works for you. There is no one that does perfect. Okay, so what are we talking about here? I've lost track of what's going on here. So more questions, guys. Anytime when the questions stop, I'm going to stop. Lots of stuff. VAS ion antenna. I haven't tried one, so I can't really talk. Yeah. Chad, do you ever fly in the rain, not pouring? If I've got a quad that is, I consider conformally coated correctly, then I will fly in the rain. But I kind of like, yeah. Is Crossfire worth it? David Down said. That's a question you have to ask for yourself. The question is, what am I missing out on? What am I gaining by this? If you want to do long range and dedicated long range, then a long range system is going to be better for you than a 2.4 system. But if you want to do long range on a 2.4 system because it's a challenge, then why get it? Yeah, and also just because Crossfire is not It's not impermeable. I've seen in 3 weeks I saw 3 Crossfire failsafes, 2 of them at extremely close range because there was a lot of noise around the city where we were flying in the 900 megahertz band. So sometimes it's better to stick with 2.4. Sometimes it's better to go to 900. Sometimes it's better to go to 433. Pick your poison, educate yourself on what is worthwhile, and go and use it. And if you're opinionated, be happy that you chose correctly. I'm up for new lipos soon. R-Line 1550 is still decent. The 1550s seem to be getting a pretty good reputation. Pretty much all of the good quality top level brand batteries are good quality batteries, and you'll get good performance out of it. If you're unlucky, you'll get a bad batch and they'll go crap, and if that pisses you off, then you'll jump on Facebook and tell everyone how shit they are. But yeah. Ways to increase range while flying in a car because it's winter here. You shouldn't have a problem with flying a reasonable range just sitting in the car, but you could make some connections and SMA connectors and then put antennas on the roof if you want. Is my hair made of vacuum formed plastic or held in place with koala semen? A little bit of both. The plastic started degrading, so then we needed to use koala semen to finish it off, and it's a once a week application. Oh, that'd be cool, having a chair wired to your radio so it would. What happens if you did a flip though? Any more questions? Trying to keep up with all of the... I've heard koalas are assholes. Yeah, koalas are generally cranky bastards. But if you had to eat gum leaves all day, you'd be pissed off too. Am I going to give Tommy's frame a try? I've been closely associated with Tommy's frame. I've been watching him develop that for a very long time. So he's put a lot of work and passion into that, and it's a really cool frame design. It's probably not something I'm going to fly, because my big thing that I want to have is I want to have my GoPro have a clear view so I don't have props in shot. And that's just a personal preference of mine, because when I want to make something, I want the ability to have props in shot or not have props in shot. And in Tommy's frame, the props are in shot, and depending on the setup, sometimes even a bit of the motor's in shot. So that's not what I like. Now, that's not me saying the frame is bad. That just means that it doesn't conform to what is important to me in a design. So I'm sure the frame I haven't flown like the latest iteration. I've been closely involved with the earlier versions. So I'm sure the frame flies really nice. He's designed it really well. It's a cool frame. But for me, that's the downside to it. Kevin said, can we catch up in 2 weeks in Brisbane? Kevin, we sure can. Sorry, I saw your little thing saying something about you being around. Yes, I'm here. So contact me, send me a private message or whatever. I'd love to catch up with you guys. I do plan to be local in 2 weeks. So I'll take you guys out flying to some of my favourite spots if you guys want to do that. How long are you here for? Yeah, it's the Tommy's frame's got good cam protection. There's so many frames out there which have shit cam protection. I don't understand why. Protect your camera. It needs to be protected. Since you are the king of quads, have you ever talked shit about steel? I don't know if anyone ever... yeah, if you think I'm the king of quads, that's great. Have I ever talked shit about steel? I replied to steel's bullshit and set the record straight. So if that's talking shit about steel, then yeah, I guess I do. When is my new frame coming out? Is this true? A rumor. Soon. I wish I could say more. Soon. Patience, guys. It's coming. Does anyone break one side prop more than the other? It's the usual thing, whether you break Clockwise or anti-clockwise props. Can you use any BL Heli ESC for 3D mode? You should be able to. I'm sure the older ones would struggle a little bit more because they're not good at changing direction as quickly. As long as we want. You quit. Shit, Kevin, did you guys quit your job? Holy crap. That's big news. We'll have to talk about it more. So, yes, Kevin, send me a message when you guys get here. Or send me a message after this. Let me know the details of what's going on here. I've generally got a reasonable... I can shuffle around work because I'm work for myself. My boss is an asshole. And I'd love to come and hang out with you guys. Had a blast with you guys the last time you were here, so it'd be really cool just to be able just to relax and show you guys some of the cool spots where this FPV as we know it was kind of born. Final Glide Oz, do you still consider Steele your friend? No. Simple as that. Friends don't do certain things to friends, and after a number of times of doing that, I needed to make the decision and just went, I'm going to do my own thing. I want to appreciate and trust my friends. I don't trust Steele. Simple as that. Can I take a quad to Australia on vacation? Do I need to register it somewhere? Interesting one there. Yeah, you can bring a quad to Australia. Traveling to Australia is no different to traveling anywhere else around the world. And my advice to you, if you want to bring a quad to Australia, I'll do two things. I'll talk about regulations and I'll talk about my advice. So my advice is bring the quad and understand council rules where you are. So for example, I live on the Gold Coast and they don't allow RC aircraft of any kind in the council parks. If you get caught, it's a $370 fine. If you go to Brisbane, they do allow it. So I've only got to drive 10 minutes up the road and I can fly legally. That said, I fly where the fuck I want, but I don't annoy people. If you're not annoying people, then people won't complain. If people don't complain, then the council doesn't come out to get stuck into you. So I've never been given a fine by the council for flying a mini quad. I got a talking to by flying a little bonsai wing, which weighed 160 grams or something stupid like that. And I had to talk my way out of it here down on the Gold Coast. But yeah, wherever you are, I would say come here, fly it, enjoy it, don't piss people off, be courteous and you will be fine. Now, regulation. Here in Australia, everyone's talking about Canada and the bad regulations in Canada. Here in Australia, CASA are a bunch of complete and utter fuckwits. I don't really know how to put that in a more civil way. Here in Australia, FPV is illegal in all sense of the terms, according to CASA. It depends on how you read the regulation. The way that the regulation reads to me, it's not illegal, but as far as CASA is concerned, it is completely illegal. The only way, there are a number of ways that you can do it. First of all, you can get your commercial license, which is going to cost you a couple of $1,000s. And then you can get certification to allow you to fly beyond visual line of sight, which is going to cost you another couple of $1,000s. So for maybe $4,000 or $5,000, you can be a commercial pilot and fly FPV legally. The other way that you can fly legally is to join the MAAA or AMAS, which is going to cost you about $100 a year for registration. And then essentially you can either only fly on their approved flying club fields, or you can fly on property that you have written permission, which a lot of the times is nearly impossible to do. So for all intensive purposes, FPV is fucking illegal here in Australia, but my reaction to CASA about it being illegal is, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. I'm going to continue fucking flying because you're a bunch of retarded desk jockeys that really need to get a life. So there we go. I've given the regulation. That's something that you need to choose for yourself. I would suggest just come here and fly and enjoy it like the rest of us. Not a single person has been fined for flying FPV in the history of Australia, so have fun. Manu said the drone great public DJI for examples for the problem perhaps. No, I don't blame DJI. I don't blame the people I blame are the stupid fucking media and the retarded politicians because they don't listen. I truly believe that even if the DJI guys are doing the right things and all the mini quad guys are doing the same things, we'd have exactly the same regulation. It just wouldn't change. So yeah. If I'm an average pilot, would I be able to notice an improvement upgrading from KISS V1 to KISS V2? Hard question to answer because there's so many variables involved. You could have everything else not work and have it fly like shit. Hard to answer. I'm noticing a difference, and it really depends. What is worthwhile to you? For some people, adding $5 onto a price tag for a quad is enough for them to go absolutely fucking crazy and want to kill everyone. So I can't answer that question for you. Have I tried any of the BL32 ESCs? If they compare, the Wraith 32 ESCs are quite nice, and they kind of compare to their similar performance to the KISS 24s. I dislike fiddling with BL Heli, so take your pick. Yeah, ESC technology is all kind of close these days. It's all plateauing. What about that guy that got fined in Sydney for picking up a snag from Bunnings? Like, yeah, but he wasn't flying with goggles and all that sort of stuff. He got fined for flying over traffic, flying over people, and being in a populous area. I've flown Betaflight always, but I feel like I'm missing out a lot on using KISS. If you feel like you're missing out, give it a try. I always suggest to people, stop being an opinionated bastard that, well, first of all, stop being an opinionated bastard, but stop being an opinionated bastard that's only ever tried one thing. And I've got Betaflight, I've got Raceflight, and I've got KISS, and I always update them, and I've got dedicated quads for that because I want to have a good experience and long-term experience on that, so I can make up my own mind. Not to tell everyone that they're right or wrong, but so I know what works for me. KISS needs to sort out their software. It's terrible. In which way is it terrible? So here's the interesting thing. It comes down to a personal experience. Jared Turner said that. Jared, I think Betaflight is fucking terrible. I think the Betaflight GUI needs to be thrown into a fucking bin. I mean, it's like going back to the MS-DOS days. It's like writing 3 lines of code just so that you can eject a disk. Are you fucking kidding me? Any recommendations for the best way to clean dust and tiny metal particles out of your motors? It's a hard one. Compressed air gets it down to the bottom, and then you can move it out. It gets a bit hard. I'm sure there's people out there that fly in those conditions that have got a better idea than me. Yeah, Kid FPV said KISS on Mac is beautifully simple. I would agree. It's got some glitches on Windows, but that comes down to the faults of Windows and the problem with Windows being able to be hacked. These limitations are put on there so that the firmware in KISS can be looked after so that people can't hack into it. Now, if Windows was a bit more secure, it would not be a problem. You'll find too, but here's the interesting thing. So the KISS V2, I forgot to mention that, it doesn't have the driver issues that all these other ones. It's got its own driver on there, and that's all sorted. No boot button. I've got to check, but I believe that flashing firmware and all that sort of stuff is all fixed because of these changes on Windows. Don't quote me on that. I've got to test that out. Windows is not secure. Windows is the least secure operating system out there by a fucking long shot. And that's why you need to run all of these fucking virus protection stuff on there time and time again, because it's not secure. And the very concept of how what is built on is the reason why it's not secure. The fact that you can fiddle with it so much is the reason why it's not secure. And I mean, that's not to say that it's shit, but this is the reason why some of the things happen. Okay, let's not make this a Windows versus Mac discussion, because it's mini quad. So let's change the subject. Fly on a glide. I like how you don't hold back your thoughts and just say as you will. I'm me, and I'm just a regular guy talking like everyone else. I don't have sponsorships holding me back. I don't have companies paying me money for cash for comment and all that sort of bullshit. So what you get from me is my opinion. Might be different to your opinion, and that's why I try to put it across as that. And I've held that and lost a decent amount of money by doing that, but I want to be able to continue to be independent, because I cannot stand how I call it selling out, which I see a lot of people doing, where they're like, oh no, I don't want to upset someone. You know what? Fuck it. I'm being me. And that's why I've always there. All right, I'll catch you later, Kevin. Am I sponsored by Immersion RC? I've cut ties sponsorship-wise with every company out there. Can I get free stuff through Immersion RC? Yes, I can, because I help them out with things. And Immersion RC knows that if I use their products that in my description, that people are going to see what I use and they're going to buy it. So yes, I do get free stuff from them. But I have no sponsor. I have not signed a single sponsorship contract with anyone, and I don't need to use it. I don't need to say anything good about it. I'm free to say whatever I want. So I don't know. Maybe you would call that sponsored. I don't know. I don't get like a monthly supply of parts from anyone. But for example, I use the Spironet and I use the Tramp. So just recently I got low on those guys. So I made a call and I said, hey, I need a couple of Tramps, I need a couple of Spironets. And I don't order 50 or anything like that. I just order a small amount and it lasts me for a year and I'm done. So I don't know. I'm a team pilot. What do you class as a team pilot? I don't know. I do my own thing. Here's the thing. I use a Tramp VTX, so I call up Immersion RC. I know that I'm the type of pilot, I'm well enough known that if I call up any other company and say, hey, I'd like a free product, they're going to send it to me. So I choose the product that I want to fly, and I either buy it or I get a free product. Half of the shit I get, I just can't be bothered asking for it, so I just buy it. If I know the people, then sometimes I get it for free. Does that make me a team pilot for that company or a sponsored pilot? I don't know. Taking consideration that I could do this with any company. Vegan burger or a nice beefy cheeseburger? Fuck the vegan shit. I don't mind vegan stuff. I don't mind vegetarian. I've got vegan friends and I've got vegetarian friends. And it's nice, but seriously, eat some fucking meat. We've got the teeth. We're designed to eat that shit. That's why you have to fucking buy shit like Fakin and all that sort of stuff. I love my meat. Bruce, you are not too late. I am talking shit till the cows come home. The cows come home. And while I got you, Bruce, I want to catch up with you, dude. I want to chat to you on Skype or whatever. Send me an email or whatever. I'd love to have a chat with you if I get a chance. I'm itching to get over to New Zealand. I'd love to talk to you about regulation in Australia, because I love your talks on regulation. But I really want to catch up with you, buddy. So contact me. I don't know how. I don't know if you've got Skype or whatever. Yeah. Do I eat kangaroo? Yes, I've eaten kangaroo. Yeah, man. I at the least I want to chat to you and just catch up on Skype or something like that. So, um, yeah, finalglideozracing@gmail.com. Send me an email there and tell me the best way that we can get in touch. So finalglideaus@gmail.com. Um, the meat over in America, you guys really know the good quality beef. I'm not talking about the city beef, but the good quality country beef. You Americans really know how to produce nice beef, and how to cook it. Really, that's really nice. You suck at a lot of other things like lamb. We love lamb here in Australia. I love lamb. The your lamb tastes like shit, like it's too big, it's bloated, it's been like force fed, and you don't know how to cook it. And You're pretty good at pork. Aussies are pretty good at pork as well, but you guys need to work on your lamb. I love my lamb. Right, so we need FPV and quad related questions. Unless you guys just want to ask me regular sort of meat questions and Mac versus Windows questions. Thoughts on the new KISS FC, please. I already spoke about the KISS FC. The details are out there. It's just gone on sale. It's more expensive because of the stuff that's on there. Some people won't mind that. Some people will mind it. Some people will fucking hate it, and some people will bitch and whinge about it. La-di-da-di-da. I really like the new KISS FC. It's working well for me. If you want to try it and make up your own mind. Do I play VR? No, I don't have VR. There's a lot of shit that I have to forego because I travel so much, and I'm sort of concentrated on what I do. I've spent a couple of hours at the Corridor Digital headquarters playing VR on their headset there in their office, and I fucking loved it. If I could play it more, I would. But I don't have a games machine set up. The only thing I've got is my MacBook Pro laptop. That's the only computer I've really got running at the moment. Did you like the last two Rotor Riot videos? What were the last two Rotor Riot videos? So we had the cheap build one. I thought that was really good. Really enjoyed that. I knew that was coming. I wish could have been over in America to be involved in that one. Good fun one. People just dicking around. What was the one before that? I can't remember what the one was before that. I know it wasn't the bridge dive one. Would you be switching your quads to KISS SCV2? Yes, I do intend to. Have I ever met Oscar Lang? No, I haven't. Not in person. I've spoken to him, though. Replacement bells for hype trains. I would talk to Chad Capper about that. Or Tommy. I'm a bit out of the loop over here, but yes, I think that's a good idea. Favorite propellers. Freestyle would be the 5x4.3x3 V1S. Working on some new stuff, though. Do I use simulators? Yes, I use Liftoff when I do use them. Tell me the weirdest shit you've seen flying. I'm picturing a shit going through the air now. What's a good PDB? One that works. Yeah, I really like the cheap quads one. Sorry, bro, the upload is killing me. I'll watch the upload. Thanks for doing this. No worries, buddy. Apologies. The bandwidth is shit. It's my video. It's my internet. It's just crap. No, there was one other than the building dive one. I'm trying to think of what it was. It was obviously not that memorable because I can't remember it. DHL building dive. Yeah, short, sweet. I wish there was something more involved in that, but it was just a nice short, sweet video. Matty Stunts 6S thoughts go. It works for Matty Stunts, but I think the flight time is too short. It's taxing the components too much. It's not practical, so it doesn't work for me. But Matty is getting some awesome footage. Well, has got some awesome footage with it. So if it manages to capture the footage and the vibe that he's after, great, it works for him. But practically speaking, doesn't work for me. right, we need questions. How's things going? Bruce, Bruce, are you there still? Do you have any questions? I want to know. I want Bruce to ask me a question. I've never had XJet RC model reviews ask me a question, and RC model reviews and flight test were what got me back into RC stuff after a long break. Any FPV channel I recommend? Okay, guys. Yes, I will give you some. Okay. FPV channels that I recommended. Okay, guys, apparently I'm buffering a lot for Bruce. Can you guys tell Bruce that he needs to get in contact with me? Maybe through my YouTube channel. Get him to write a comment on my discussion page on my YouTube channel, because I want to chat to him because he can't hear me. And that's why he doesn't get in contact with me. So if you can hear me now, send a message and tell Bruce that he needs to get in contact with me privately. Okay, recommended channels. Flux FPV is definitely one. Oh, good. You sent me an email. Thanks, Bruce. Appreciate it. Flux FPV, definitely. That wasn't one I was going to mend, but Flux FPV, he does some really cool stuff. He's done some stuff over in Canada. So FLUX FPV. That is one that you should really go and check out. He's got some really good videos. Another one that I would recommend, and I really like putting out the good pilots out there. I need to explain. I like, yeah, Flux FPV, that's it. I like trying to promote pilots out there that have very few subscribers but are fucking good at what they do and need more subscribers than they do it. And oh well, that's a dad joke there, Bruce. That is a dad joke. Yeah, that I think deserve more subscribers, and a lot of these people are doing these videos because they're passionate about it, and I respect that. The fact that you might only get a couple of hundred views, but you're still doing videos because it's what you really like. So, yeah. Okay, so recommended channel is Mark M FPV. So that is a M-A-R-C. So Mark with a C. M-A-R-C space M FPV. See you later, buddy. Have fun at work. M-A-R-C M FPV. Now, this guy is very talented pilot. So he also flies indoor 3D fixed wing aircraft and is really good at that. Really talented pilot. But he's got a real Ethan vibe, high flight vibe about him. So I would definitely recommend going and checking him out. He's got 1,500 subscribers and does some really good videos. So I'd highly recommend going him and watching him. Yeah, someone mentioned UAV Fortunes. No, sorry, UAV. Yeah, Stu. Someone write it down there in the comments again. Stu, he does some really good reviews, and he's not on Facebook, so he doesn't push himself. He just lets the whole thing grow, and he does some really good stuff there. And he's a bit like Bruce. He's an Aussie version of Bruce, and really good stuff there. So, yeah, Flux FPV and Mark M FPV. If you want to watch flying channels, well worth it to do them. So, UAV Futures. Yeah, I know, Fortune, sorry. So I actually got to get down to Sydney, down that way, and catch up with Stu. He's a really good bloke, and I got to go and do some. Okay, guys. Any last? I don't need to try and give advertising for Joshua Bardwell. He's got bloody heaps of subscribers. I like to really push people that don't have subscribers. They're the ones that I really want to push out there. So, any other last questions? Because we've been talking for 103 minutes. Chad, favorite beer? I'm not a beer drinker. I'm a cider drinker. So I like sweet cider, and I don't like beer. I know. Kill me if you disagree. Vince Smith is a killer pilot. I've seen some of his videos. It's okay. I have a bit of a problem with Vince Smith because he started actually physically threatening me and my family at one point in time, so I blocked him. I like to distance myself from crazy fuckers like that. Stu was alright, but he seems to say everything that he gets is awesome, including cheap Chinese things that break after a flight. Well, he's like Josh Bixler. Josh Bixler says everything is awesome as well. No one's saying bad shit about Josh. No worries, guys. I'm just happy to do live feeds, and if this is entertaining you guys, then yeah. Do you get K's hard cider? I don't. No, I don't. I've never seen that. We might get it. I don't drink much, so yeah. Can we string some tin so we can get better internet connection? You probably could, because this internet sucks, I know. See, man, what kind of cider? Any kind of sweet cider. Apple, pear. I'm not particularly picky, but I prefer sweet. Have I ever tried using Twitch instead of YouTube for live streams? No, I haven't tried Twitch. Haven't done that. If you're thinking that might be better for me, it's just my internet. My internet is really fucking bad. I've got 5 megabytes download and half a megabyte upload with a ping of about 90 milliseconds on average. Will I do a review of the Mojo? I won't do a review of the Mojo because I feel that will be biased, because I had a very, very big input on the design of it. I will also be getting, I'm also getting some profits from the sales of the Mojo. So putting that out there. So no, I don't want to do a review on it because you can't review something that you designed. I'd rather other people do the review on it. What I will do is like a setup video and a features video to let you guys know about it and how to set it up, because I don't think there's enough videos out there. But yeah, I don't want to be doing it by stuff like that. Oops. Is there some national fiber internet service? Yes, we've got the NBN. That's Xylon FPV. We've got the NBN and it fucking sucks. So the NBN has already gone through here. And I'm getting 5 megabytes down and 0.5 up with 90 milliseconds of lag. Thank you, Liberal Party. Why the heck is Chilean internet better than Aussie internet? Ask our government. Our government is fucking useless. Chad, any real gains with flying pinching versus pinching style versus thumbs? Okay, interesting question. Down to personal preference. If it works for you, then use it. If it doesn't, then don't. Interesting thing for me, when I fly mode 1, I feel more natural thumbs. When I fly mode 2, pinching, hybrid sort of thing feels better. So it depends on the person. Now, some will tell you that pinching is better, and for some people, when they go to pinch, they're more controlled and more smooth. But just remember, just because you punch, it's down to the individual. My entire career, I've been like, and with mini quads, I've been flying thumbs. No one's accusing me of flying rough. Johnny FPV flies thumbs. No one is accusing Johnny of flying rough. So use what works for you and refine it. But don't think that the one is better than the other. By all means, try it all. Test it out. But use what works for you. I do have a question. Does the Drib change his min command for less deadband? Like he shows stock in beta was 1100, change it to 1050. My min command, I'm always changing between KISS and Betaflight, so I'm trying to think. It is. Damn it! I'll have to get back to you. So you have your min throttle for like D shot at the percentage rate, and then min command is. I think it's min command. What is it? It's shit. There's one of them that I put down to 1015. I have to go and get my Betaflight quad, which is too far away. But I bring that, and that gets rid of the deadband down the bottom there. Yeah, KISS min command, you can go with D-Shot and KISS ESCs. You can go as low as 1030. I usually leave it at 1070 purely because that extra slower speed reduces the torque of the motor quite dramatically in that small part, and you can have more problems with bounce backs and things like that. Min check, that's it, thank you. Yeah, so min command, I have my throttle percentage, my min throttle is like 4.5%, whatever it is in Betaflight normal. Leave that standard. I have min command at 1000, and then I put min check, which you have to go through the CLI, which is normally at 1100 or something like that. I put min check at 1015. I've bitched to Boris about making that default. The reason why he doesn't is because there's some cheap radios out there that it means the pilots have to put up 1100 and they can't fly and they bitch and whinge. So I would suggest if you want to make things better, I would min command to 1000 and leave the min throttle regular at default, and then go into CLI, min check to 1015. I think default it's 1100. Do that and that'll get rid of a lot of your deadband. Have you seen the flight test vid where they fly a mile? Do you know how far range in the Crossfire can really go yet? You can't. No one can answer that question. Like, oh, this can go 20 miles. Under certain circumstances, it can't go 20 meters. It depends on the situation. In the right circumstance, yes, it can go a long way. And it depends on the power, it depends on the antennas, it depends on the setup, it depends on the noise level, it depends on your Fresnel zone, how you've situated yourself and your base station, blah, blah, blah. It's very, very hard to answer. So in the right circumstances, you could fly a very long way. For example, 433, people were doing 100 kilometers on 2 watts, I think it was, out. And of course, the lower the frequency, the further you can go. It really depends on the situation, and this is where it becomes interesting to be knowledgeable on RF, because it comes down to it's not about I've got this system, this how far it can go. It's a matter of stacking the deck in your favor and tweaking everything and understanding the limitations of your terrain and the RF noise level to know what you can achieve. Yeah, 100 Ks. FPV is nothing new. People were doing long distance flying on various systems long before mini quads are out there. So we're not even pushing the envelope. And all these people like that having range problems 50 meters away on a mini quad, 2.4 can very easily go a couple of kilometers. I think the longest distance I've seen on a Tyrannus with a 5 dBi mod was 12 kilometers, 2.4 radio. Everything else was stock except for a 5 dBi mod. 12 kilometers on a Tyrannus. So you can go a long way, but you're pushing the envelope a lot more with 2.4. Heaven's Gate video, how far was that? It was over a kilometer. It was probably 1.5 kilometers if I had to guess. It wasn't a huge distance, but yeah, you were flying behind an object, so getting a fail-safe that far away was a possibility. You know much about T-Rex? What do you mean T-Rex? Rain Rex are you talking about? You need a spectrum analyzer. A spectrum analyzer certainly helps when you are in an environment with people a populous environment because people make noise. We've got lots of electronic devices. Out in the open, out in the outback, less likely so. But it depends on the frequency you're using. If you're using 433 or 900, these things go a long way away, and you might have a ham guy pumping out 40 watts on something and just knock you out of the sky. Yeah, it's hard to know. So Omagard's setup wasn't fit for it. I'm not sure what the question was there. What FC do you use on your Betaflight quad? The current test quad that I've got has just got the Betaflight F3 on it, and that flies really nicely. I've tried many boards. That one's just a nice, simple working practical quad, practical flight controller. Yeah, it all comes down to how you set up your quad. We can go a lot further with the stock equipment than we think we can if you just set shit up. And that's what I aim to do with a lot of those Rotor Riot videos and my own videos, just to show you how far you can go. Heaven's Gate, oh my God, quad dropped out halfway. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Okay. Tommy replaced his antenna and his pigtail before that trip, and what happened was the active element of that, the pigtail actually broke off and desoldered itself. So he was doing that flight with no antenna at all, and he still got halfway there without an antenna. So I think that's pretty fucking impressive. What's my favorite episode that you worked on with Rotor Riot? Oh, I've got far too many to choose from. It's more the memories that probably of parts of that you didn't actually see that made me proud to be there. Actually, what's one of my favorites? One of my favorites is Captain Uno. Captain Uno, the one-handed pilot. Everyone knows Captain Uno out there. I've found Robert. Like, we didn't go there to film him. I was just told, oh, there's a guy that's a fan of yours that wants to come fly. I met him and I noticed that he was only flying with one hand. So I didn't go out there to try and document him. It was just one of those things that happened. And I just felt good being at the right place at the right time to be able to make someone feel good, because he was like just jazzed that one of his favorite pilots was there flying with him, and I was happy to have a good day with him. And I also had a spare quad because I could see that he was struggling to get quads, so I gave him a spare quad so that he could go he could do some racing, and that really gave him some confidence to go out there and show himself in the world and show him what he could do, which in turn got him some recognition from the wider world, which in turn helped him to help other disabled pilots. And now there's a whole group of, I think it's Determined FPV on Facebook, where he's helping all these people out there to realize their dreams and realize just because you've got a disability doesn't mean that you can't achieve what you want to do. And that really makes me proud. That's what I'm happy about. None of this sort of like, oh, look at me, I'm fucking fantastic. The fact that I can help people that in turns help other people makes me proud. And that's what helps me sleep at night. And really, that's the achievement right there. Not winning competitions, not doing a crazy flight and impressing people with fancy videos. That's the kind of shit that you remember later on. Chad, what motors props are you liking now in the Alien Kiss setup? Already answered before. I'm using the Hype Train and the HQ 5x4x3 V1S PC props. That's a really nice combination for me. Yeah, the thing that I'm really humble about is I did this really small thing. Like, I didn't do much. I just basically went, here's a guy. Hey, you want a quad? There you go, done. And what he's been able to achieve Like, he said to me, "Thanks so much for all your help." And I'm like, "I didn't do anything. I just showed you the door. You opened it, you walked through it." But I was in my small way able to help Robert, push him in a direction that he needed to go, and he's just soaked it all up. Yeah. David Down said, "I'm blind in one eye and was born that way." Wow. How's depth perception for you? Because I know that could be a problem. What are your thoughts on Steele leaving Rotor Riot? That's up to him to do. Needs to make his own decision. And you need to respect the decision that everyone makes. So I'll respect that decision. And just for the record, Steele didn't leave. The door was open for him. So he wasn't fired, but he didn't leave. Yeah. I will respect any decision anyone wants to make looking after themselves. It's the putting down people, it's the stomping on people and all that kind of bullshit that I draw a line on. And that's why my back arches up and I start pushing, because I've been keeping quiet for a very fucking long time. So yeah, if he wants to leave, that's up to him. Next question. I don't feel any different, but you do use 16:9. Do you find only having one functional eye helps? 16:9 helps you? Check Crazy Legs FPV show for some love. I'll have to check that out. You and Snake FPV going to fly together again? I don't see why not. Me and Snake have been good friends for quite a long time. And I mean, just because Snake might be doing one or two things that I necessarily don't agree with doesn't mean that I'm not going to hang out with him. I still respect the guy a lot. And yeah, I mean, you can disagree with someone and still be friends with them. This is what I don't think a lot of people don't get. It's when you physically hurt someone or stab someone in the back, that's when it becomes an issue and you need to decide whether or not you want to hang out with them. And Snake's done good by me so far. So why would that change? Any new FPV flying video in the making? I usually make the video within a day or so of me flying, and I've been just doing a lot of testing and other things, so I really haven't had a chance to make stuff, and I haven't been traveling much too, so I don't want to just give you guys constant videos of me flying in my backyard, because that's got to get boring for you guys. Well, that's cool, David. If the 16:9 works for you, then continue using it. It's good to hear you found something. It's good to see you found something that works for you. It's awesome. Where is my next big adventure project going to be? I don't know. My next trip's probably going to be back over to America, and doing some Rotor Riot stuff and maybe some other stuff. Nothing's really sort of in concrete yet. How long have I been flying quadcopters? I started getting interest and sort of started buying stuff late 2013. Early 2014 was when I started. I use shitty Earsheen box goggles and love them compared to the HD3. Well, if it works for you, cool. I've tried the Earsheen stuff and I hate it. Plus I hate the single screen stuff. I can't stand it, because the Fresnel lenses in these things by design actually make your eyes go cross-eyed, and I get a headache after a while. Plus I don't like a massive field of view, because proximity, it's just too much information for me. When running the adaptive filter on KISS, should we disable the LPF? It depends on the firmware. So the new like the newer stuff, like RC30 and the KISS SC V2 that I'm running, I have the LPF on high, and that seems to work quite well. I'm working with the firmware to see if we can tweak things to have it set off and still have it as smooth. It just tends to sort of, you get some little vibrations here and there with it off. So I generally run high, and that's why default is high. When was the last time you got up in a glider? I'd love to see a video of you doing that. Cheers, buddy. If you want to see some videos, go down to, like, I've got about 3 or 4 gliding videos on my YouTube channel you can check out. Yeah, I want to get out there. It's a matter of money and time, really. More money than anything. And I know that if I do it, I will get totally sucked into it again, and I just don't want to tempt myself. But I'm slowly losing out on that argument. Could do with a video, a guide for the adaptive filters. I set it up and handling went to crap. Currently running RC30. Well, there's not really much that you can change on the adaptive filters. You turn them on or off, and I don't use the manual notch filters at all. It comes down to a matter of tuning. You might need to retune. I'm running RC28 and 103. Should I update? I would say yes. Because you can always so take a copy of all your settings, try it, test it. If you don't like it, you can go back. Yeah, I've watched Bruno stuff for years. How much does Rotor Riot pay? 0. No, I don't get paid. Well, up until this point in time, I'm always negotiating things. But up until this point in time, I haven't been paid to be on Rotor Riot. Now, for example, say the Hype Train motors, I've helped develop the Hype Train motors. So I get a small profit from those motors, but just being on Rotor Riot and presenting, I don't get anything, and that was known when I went there. So anyone, and I'm not going to name any names, you work it out, anyone who's complaining that they don't get paid is just, they should be laughing at themselves, because that was the contract that they took. And there's no signed contracts. It was like, we're coming on here and you're not going to get paid, but we're going to work on things, and there's things that we can build in the future. There's other ways of getting paid. So no, I don't get paid for being a presenter. I do it because I want to help the community. What editing software do you use, and what GoPro settings do you record at in general? So I use Final Cut Pro, and I have, it's very hard to say GoPro settings because it depends on the daylight, but I have ProTune on, and I have sharpness at sort of medium. I have what do we got? I'm trying to think of it offhand. I better not say, because otherwise I'll just get it wrong. Had to get money, Chad, for that Subaru. Well, I bought that car before I came to Rotor Riot. Thanks for the shout out in the last video. No worries, buddy. You make some good videos, and you do a nice community to the service, so people like that should be rewarded. Brown, stay away from Ready to Fly. Alex, you said stay away from Ready to Fly quads. Why is that? I'd like to know why. Why do you think New Kiss FC V2 doesn't have OSD, even though it seems like it's the standard now? You'll have to ask Flyduino. Like I said before, there's things that are being worked on, and I'll have an announcement coming out soon enough. And there's other stuff that I can't talk about that's being worked on. But I don't know. I don't use an OSD, so I don't really care either way. It's not an issue for me. What is a really good battery to use, 4 or 5S? Any of the top brands. They all work great. I'm always happy to sign boobies. Thoughts on lower KV with higher pitch props? Yeah. The thing is, here's the problem with a higher pitch prop is, especially when you're moving forward, as the quads change angle, the prop pitch is changing its angle of attack. So the more the angle of attack, the higher the angle of attack, the more likely it is to stall. The prop will stall. When it stalls, or just before it stalls, the prop itself will become extremely inefficient, and that's where it might not be as locked in, or you might get wobbles or oscillations, prop wash, so forth, when you're trying to fly through your own prop wash and so forth. So that would be my only reason to not do it, but it's a matter of testing it out to see how it goes. All I know is that what I use now, I'm not really having an issue with it, so I'm like, okay, cool, we can change for the sake of changing, but why would you do that? What are you trying to achieve? Hoping to achieve? And if you don't know what you're hoping to achieve, then maybe that's time to test it and log it, check the parameters out, and see what the positives and the negatives are. Then you know what the positives are. Does the Teal 24 amp use the same firmware as the normal 24 amps? No, it doesn't. I believe you've got to get that firmware from the Teal website. You'll be able to flash the 24 amp ESC firmware on there, but it won't work. Can you change the limit of angle in Betaflight, dude, for self-level? Yes, you can. It's in the CLI command, I think. Command line CLI, yeah. What's up with the new KISS 32? KISS is the best for sure, but I fly Betaflight most of the time. Well, cool, continue flying Betaflight. If that works for you, great. What do I think about Drew's eyeliner? This is like, okay, these are the two questions that I get a lot when I do these live feeds. What do I think about Drew's eyeliner? Sorry, three questions. What do I think about Drew's eyeliner? What do I think about Bot Grinder's tattoo? And what do I think about Joshua Bardwell's skirt? The answer is really simple. I don't fucking think about it. Don't care. Who cares? Let's get over it. Why does it matter? Why is it even a talking piece? What do you think about my beard? I don't give a shit what you think about my beard. This is just being me. So is putting eyeliner on. So is putting a tattoo on your face. So is putting that on. So is wearing a sarong or whatever it's called. Is it affecting me? No. So who cares? Let's get on with it. It's just a stupid question. Sorry if I'm starting to sound blunt, but I just don't get all that. And most of these comments, I know that yours wasn't, but a lot of these comments are extremely judgmental about, well, that's not manly, or that's not the right thing to do, or that's stupid, or that looks ugly. Stop being a judgmental prick if you're one of those people. You're a low-life fucking scumbag if you are that. You need to get back inside of your hole. It's that simple. Yeah. People care because it's culturally abnormal where they come from. Well, grow some thicker skin and stop caring. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're straight. I don't care if you wear eyeliner. I don't care if you wear a dress. I don't care if you decide that you're only ever going to wear green clothes. I don't care if you decide you're going to hop on one foot. It doesn't affect my life. And the sooner the rest of the people in society can get that around their head, the better off we will be as a community of people. Do I like words and stuff? Yes, I do. What's the drawing on the wall with the red border? That is a picture that someone drew for my father, I think, or my mother. They liked it, and yeah. Am I using an AO? In my Betaflight quad, I've got the Betaflight F3. What's the best beginner quad on a budget? Oh wait, before I get back to it, I just spent time hanging out with Drew, and people go, that eyeliner is gay as fuck. And I laugh at that. I laugh at that so hard because I've seen the ladies that Drew's picked up, and he's picking up tail that most of you guys could only fucking dream of. So give him shit as much as you like. He's having more fun than you could ever even imagine. And that's why he laughs at it. So, what's the best beginner quad on a budget? It depends on your budget. Of course, Rotor Riot did the real cheap stuff, and the Earsheen Wizard came out. I've played with the Earsheen Wizard. I personally would not, if for a person who really wants to get into this hobby, knows that they want to do, I would not recommend an Earsheen Wizard because it falls apart. It's a piece of shit. I'm not going to go on the fact that it's got clone stuff on there and doesn't really support India, blah, 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 blah. Let's put all that aside. Aside from all that, it's just a cheap shit quad. I've seen so much shit go wrong with that with multiple quads. It's cheap and crappy. So I have to ask what you class as on a budget. And I will say that I'm getting a profit from this sale, and I could be said as biased, but if I was to choose a quad to suggest to someone getting into this, and they may not necessarily want to build, I would suggest the Vortex 230 Mojo. It's just a fucking good quad. It's just a really good all-round quad. And if they want to build, then wow, okay, the sky's the limit. There's so many components and so many different versions of components to choose there that I couldn't begin to suggest. I would suggest getting components that people around you in your group are aware of, so that way they can help you. First quad will be an RR5 pre-built ordering this week. Oh, that's cool. I think there's a perfect quad set up. I believe it's the person and how they get used to it and how they take that and build skills. Yeah, the big problem is there's so many different opinions out there. And everyone's an expert and everyone's going to give a different opinion. There's lots of stuff out there that will work well. And I could give you advice and be completely wrong. So, hard to tell. Rightio, next question. Okay, bro, how about the main topic here? Well, that was the first thing that I talked about. So, Rick, I would suggest you go and watch the start of this. I had a bit of a talk about innovation and why I think it might be dying a little bit. Well, maybe it is, maybe, don't know. Does KISS still have issues with Windows? I have not tested it, so I cannot answer, but the new KISS FC has its own driver system on there, so you don't have driver issues, which I believe has fixed a lot of the stuff that has been the issues. So I don't know. I need to test it out, but I'm a Mac guy. Sorry if I'm sitting here in paradise having a good time with everything that's working. If you had a chance to fly anywhere in the world, where would it be? I would like to go to the Philippines. They've got some really amazing places to fly there. There we go. We've got another KISS FC V2 tester on here. No issues on Windows for the new KISS FC. Done. Who can I bug the shit out of with a bunch of beginner questions? You got Facebook, you've got the new mini quad forum that's available as well. Facebook will probably allow you to find a group that's local to you, and what better way than to bug people in person? Jay, do you think it would be worth taking my only under LiPo mounted quad with and fully KISS it? If you want, go for it. I don't want to say go ahead and do it, because if you don't like it, then you'll come back and you go, oh, it's terrible, I wasted a lot of money. But if you want to try it, give it a go. Rightio. We are up to 138 minutes. So that's like 2 hours I've been talking for. That's kind of impressive. Look, guys, once again, thanks for being on here, and it looks like in general you guys have been pretty happy and coming out with all the questions and lots of stuff. Yeah, I'm happy that you guys are on here, and I will continue doing these things. I need to get a bit more I need to get a bit more organized, and I'll probably start doing them on a Friday night. Do them like a Friday night America time. That way it'll be on a Saturday during the day in Australia, and that way you've got Australia and America and everyone in between that can be involved in this live if they want to. So cheers, guys. I'm going to get out of here. I need to go and have lunch and breakfast. Haven't done any of that, but I will talk to you guys later. Appreciate it. Any comments, send me comments, ideas or questions on Facebook or in the comments here, and I'll talk to you guys later. See you later, guys. Thanks very much for that. Ciao.